What's up, everybody? Welcome to the State of Wild, episode 143, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thingy. My name is Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by my two good friends and co-hosts, Roffle and Corbett. Guys, we're here. The end of reveal season. How are y'all doing?
Good. You know, I was in the middle of last week to the end of last week. I was very sick, so I didn't actually get to see a lot of these cards when they got revealed. So you'll get my legitimate first impressions as we go through some of these. So excited about that.
Yeah, I'm in a little bit of a similar boat where I'm very out of touch with Hearthstone each weekend. It's very separate, very busy, have other stuff going on. And so whenever there's a big reveal and stuff like that going over the weekend, I have no clue. I get completely lost in the conversation. So I'm ready to start the conversation up again with you guys today and give all the listeners the absolutely 100% correct takes that they haven't heard elsewhere.
We're also going to be testing y'all's reading comprehension to see if you guys can read these cards accurately on the first try, which I know is difficult for us because we're Hearthstone players, but we're going to be testing that today. All right, we have all the cards that we didn't talk about last week. We're going to talk about this week. So let's go ahead and dive on into it. We got a lot of cards to cover. So let's start with Demon Hunter. We're going to do the same thing that we did last episode, where we're going to kind of talk about the packages of cards together, so we can kind of discuss them all in context with each other. So one of the themes that Demon Hunter has going on is payoffs for drawing cards. That sounds like a deck that we have a wild deck kind of built around, and so people are probably going to be wondering, do these really fit in that questline Demon Hunter deck? So I'm going to read out all the cards here in this package. We have Crystalline Statue, which is a 2-mana 5/4 elemental with Rush. It does start dormant, but after you draw 4 cards, this awakens. You have Runic Adornment, 2 mana. Discover a spell that costs 3 or less. Shuffle 2 copies into your deck that casts when drawn. You have Argonite Golem, 3 mana 1/5. Has +1 attack for each card you've drawn this turn. Unlucky. You have Weight of the World, 3 mana spell that says draw 2 cards. With Forge, draw cards until you have as many cards. All right, my reading comprehension skills. Draw cards until you have as many in hand as your opponent first. So you'll Divine Favor and then draw 2 cards if you have spent the mana to Forge. You have Freydar Deceptor, 4 mana 3/5 demon. Whenever you draw a card, summon a 1/1 demon with Rush. I guess we'll lump the legendary in here. We got Jotun the Eternal, 5 mana 4/5. Battlecry for the rest of the game. Cast a copy of the first spell you draw each turn at enemies. And then last but not least, we have Momentum, 5 mana spell. Give your hero +4 attack this turn. Cost 1 less for each card you've drawn this turn. Alright guys, these cards, questline Demon Hunter, I know it's a little bit of a tight list, but how are we feeling?
I feel like Momentum is the one people are talking about, and that's the one where I'm just like, but why though? Because a lot of these have what I refer to as like superficial synergy with that deck, where like it says the word draw in it, so people go, it's gonna be nutty in the deck that draws. But like, just because it says draw doesn't mean you necessarily want it. You also, like, the deck doesn't suffer from having enough draw usually. What it wants is more things that contribute towards its like overall game plan, which is making a big wall of brutes or a bunch of wallopers that then kill the opponent on the backswing. I feel like very few of these cards actually contribute to that. Maybe it wants a Divine Favor in some cases, although like punishing the opponent for drawing cards is already in place in that deck with Glide, so I don't know how valuable that is for like a 5 mana card. And I think Jotun is a little bit difficult to evaluate too, because like you want to time certain spells in a predictable manner. So he tends to probably want to hit like things like relics that have reliable targets, maybe Jade spells for Jace. I like just ripping a Philosophy when you don't have anything in hand could be a pretty big deal in that deck. It could also like, I don't know, increment the Glaivetar in a weird way that you don't want it to. So like, I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Maybe it wants the 5 mana Divine Favor, and maybe it wants the Jotun, but like things like Momentum, I really don't see. It already has Lions Friendly, so what is it getting out of that? And it doesn't run that card already, which is a more reliable card, it feels like. And then some of the other support minions, absolutely not.
Yeah, I like the minions, obviously. Crystalline Statue is almost alright, but the fact that it's so bad as the top deck after you've drawn all your cards makes it pretty horrific. So it's obviously fine if you play it on turn 2 and then pop off, but you know, it's not a very good card to draw after that. Weight of the World, leaning towards it won't get played in Questline Demon Hunter, but it's probably somewhat borderline. I don't know, like, you do have the opportunity to just, like, you know, quest on 1, forge on 2, not really doing much else on those early turns, and then you just rip it, and maybe you complete quest in one go, but it's pretty awkward if the opponent is aggressive, like, you know, or, like, is looking to actually dump and play Hearthstone cards, like, especially because you're not going to be playing card on turn 2, means that you're going to have more stuff in hand. It's really bad, probably if you're on the coin. The opponent has inherently, like, less cards in hand as well. So yeah, I think none of these see play in Questline Demon Hunter, which means none of them see play in Wild.
So let's talk about some of the other Demon Hunter cards here that aren't really lumped into this card draw package. So we have Disciple of Argus, which is a 3-mana 2/2 Death Rattle, summon 2/2 elementals with Taunt. So this works really nicely with the Quillbore. I don't remember the name. The 2-mana 3/2 Death Rattle, summon a Death Rattle that has, or a Death Rattle minion that costs 3 or less.
Oh, Razorboar, something
like that. Yeah, it's the 2-mana 3/2 thing. Yeah. That whole package of cards from, what is it, Ashes? Not Ashes.
Sure.
From forever ago. When I remember complaining about Demon Hunter getting random Death Rattle support, and this seems like synergy for that, but that deck is like nowhere near strong enough to be competitively viable, so I don't really see a home for this card kind of anywhere.
I think it was forged in the Barrens where it was released, just because knowing what I know about Quillbore, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, I tried playing that deck multiple times recently. It is not close, and this card is not going to solve that.
Yeah. All right. It is a lot of stats with the Titan. You like play the Titan, you like play this on the side, and you get like 6/6 worth of stats with Rush for 3 mana. But
you can already get like a lot of stats with Rush and Demon Hunter without relying on a 2-card combo for 10 mana.
Yeah. All right. Next but not least is the card that's finally gonna make Big Demon Hunter a thing in Wild. Finally, we have Mythical Terror. 7 mana 3/10 Demon Beast, Lifesteal. At the end of your turn, force all enemy minions to attack this. Seems like a good boy, doesn't it?
Looks like it's trying to do a Hollow Hound impression for a class that already has the capacity to heal to full pretty much on command. So, like, the thing that makes Hollow Hound so good is that it's in Hunter, and Hunter hasn't had healing. And to a lesser extent, like, it's pretty good in Death Knight, but nobody's playing that class. Like, yeah, I don't. This is not the card that Big Demon Hunter was missing, because it simply just heals to full with the 1-mana spell.
Yeah, I'm just kind of not thinking about Big Demon Hunter cards very much.
Just ever.
For Wild. Yeah. But you know what? I commit. I'm gonna play at least a game or a stream of Big Demon Hunter at some point in this expansion.
I gotta tell you, don't do that to yourself. You take that back immediately.
I'm about to say, I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah.
I opened up a lot of leeway there. I said a game or a stream.
That's a very broad range, right? All right, let's move on to Corb's favorite class, and that is Mage. Is it Mage or Rogue that's your favorite class at this point?
Not Mage anymore. Not the way these cards have been going for the past few years.
Let's talk about what he might mean. So we got a little bit of mech support. Surprise, surprise for some mech mage. We've already talked about Inquisitive Creation, which was the AoE mech spell, improved by each spell school. But we also have Chillomatic, which is a snow chugger with magnetic. That's all we really got to say about it. But Power Creep Snow Chugger, it works really, really nicely with Mecha Shark, freeze everything, but
Mecha Shark just kills everything anyway. So, like,
what's the point? Yeah,
it seems a little redundant to me.
Yeah. All right. So no buffs to Mech Mage unless you're talking about the neutral 1-drop there. We also got some Elemental Mage support. Been a while since we've seen this. Hot minute. We've got Aqua Archivist. This is a 2-mana 2/2 elemental that says Battlecry. The next elemental you play costs 2 less. You can bank that mana, right? If you're playing Ignite Mage with some Sanctum Channelers. Corb's laughing. I don't know if that's why he's laughing, but you could do that.
It is why I'm laughing. Yeah, every day we get every expansion we get a little bit closer to bringing it back.
The contrast between Corb's reaction and Roffle's reaction to this card.
Well, I was going to say that another way that you can bank 2 mana is by simply not spending 2 mana on Aqua Archivist. And then...
But yeah, multiple turns.
Yeah, I know.
Carries over. Yeah.
I know, but you still get that 2 mana for not making
Well, you can turn 5 Ignite Mage now, though.
Oh.
Right? Because you do this, and then you evocation into Chandler, and then...
Yeah, let's go ahead.
We get closer
just cut
and closer.
Just cut this, and we'll pretend like this card is strictly an Elemental Mage card, not an Ignite Mage card.
I think that's totally what they
You
meant.
might not even need an Elemental Evocation. You simply just play 2 of these, and... oh, no, I guess they don't.
No, it can't.
Right?
Yeah, it can't double.
Rip.
But it does help.
That was too many stonks.
Ignite Mage
Yeah, I mean,
you're back, baby.
Yeah, you're already playing a bunch of minions anyway.
Yeah. The other elemental here, we've got Unchained Gladiator, 4-mana 4/4 elemental. Battlecry, draw a card. Repeat for each elemental you played last turn. I mean, this is your card draw engine for your Elemental Mage. But, you know, Elemental Mage.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Wait, can you play this in something like Ignite Mage? Like if you're playing Kindling Elementals, Archivist, things like that? Or are we just not interested in it's like purely an Elemental Mage card, which means it's not playable?
I don't think that... Like, if it combos, it just wins, right? Like, I don't think this necessarily...
Well, this will, like, draw you into your Chandlers and Sorks, I guess is, like, the idea, but...
I don't think it will, because I don't think it'll draw any cards most of the time.
Fair enough.
Like, I think it'll be a 4-mana 4/4.
Yeah, nothing. All right.
I mean, like, we're almost... I don't know. The elemental support is just so all over the shop, and it has no backbone, and the cards all suck. And it's like 7 years worth of bad elemental cards, and it doesn't matter. You need good cards. It doesn't matter how many bad cards you have in the pile.
Right. For like, elementals are popular, and so people get really excited when they come back, but they always end up being bad. And I think that's why it remains popular, because when things get good, people start liking it a lot less. So like the only reason elementals are so popular is because it's been so bad for so many years.
They're the hipster tribe out there. I feel like this is a strong card. I just feel like there are literally no other good elementals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like if this was a mech, you know, draw a card, repeat for each mech that you played last turn. That would be good.
Right. Like if it had the cost reduction of mechs even reliably, which you know, Aqua Archivist is cost reduction, but it's not a mech warper, it's not a galvanizer. Like it's
nor should it be.
Right. Yeah, I'm not advocating for it to be. But because then people would just have the same opinion of elementals that they have of mechs, and so like we'd just be in the same spot but with slightly different flavors.
All right, the third, I guess, kind of thing that's being pushed in Mage is this whole play different spell school Mage. I don't really know what we're calling that. Basically a bunch of payoffs for playing a bunch of different spells that are from different spell schools. Okay, so I'm going to run through 4 cards here. We have Discovery of Magic, 1-mana spell. Discover a spell from a spell school you haven't cast this game from any class. So that does mean you can grab like holy spells, fell spells from other classes. If it'll help juice up your Magister Dawn Grasp and you know, maybe these other cards that we're going to talk about. One of them is Wisdom of Norgannon, 5-mana spell, Arcane. Draw 2 cards, cost 1 less for each different spell school you've cast this game. God, we know how we love our 0-mana draw 2s, so you know this has the potential to cost 0 mana. We have Sif, which is the Mage Legendary, 6-mana 4/6, spell damage +1. improved by each spell school you've cast this game. 6 mana Malagos, 6 is a lot less than 9. Interesting. And last but not least, we have Elemental Inspiration, 7 mana spell. Summon a 4/5 Vortex with a random bonus effect for each spell school you've cast this game. So just for clarification on this, because I know there's a lot of confusion when this was originally revealed, you will summon X amount of 4/5s, where X is equal to the number of spell schools you've played, and then each of them will have a random bonus effect. So you're not summoning a single or 4/5 for 7 mana. Okay. Spell School Mage. I don't know what we're calling this. We're going to go with Spell School Mage.
Multicost Mage?
That's what I was going to go with, is Multicaster Mage. Feels appropriate to me.
Yeah, I dig it. All right. So we have Multicaster Mage support. Also going to throw in that Inquisitive Creation card, which is the mech, but AoE on a stick, payoff for the amount of spell schools he's played. I don't know. How are we feeling about this? Like, is this a splashable package? Is this a deck that you have to completely build around? We have Dawn Grasp, like the hero card. We also have the Reverted Quest, that like cared about Arcane, Fire, and Frost. Like, is there something brewing here in Wild?
Like, I may be crazy here, but I think this is like, there's so many payoffs for this. It feels like it is borderline playable in Standard. So that means that it is probably not very good in Wild. But the fact that there's 3 pretty reasonable payoff cards in the Inquisitive Creation, Wisdom of Norgannon, and the Elemental Inspiration means that it probably ends up being a Standard deck. But unless it's a really good Standard deck for some reason, which would mean that these cards are really getting misevaluated right now by me, I don't necessarily see it.
Yeah, the payoff, like the 7-drop, is like very, very powerful. Wisdom of Norgannon, probably not so much. Like, it's very expensive. It's hard to you have to work your ass off to get to that like 4th and 5th spell school, because you only have the 3 naturally in Mage, really. Like, you do have shadow spells like Book of Spectres, but I don't think you're playing Book of Spectres in your spell dense deck. So like, you really have to work your ass off with something like Sketchy Stranger or Discovery of Magic, or there's the new 2-drop that gets you a random holy spell.
There's,
I believe,
also Prismatic Elemental from last expansion.
Yeah, Prismatic. Yeah. So like Discovery of Magic, if it had the text where it did the thing like discover a spell from spell school you haven't cast this game, it costs 1 less. All of a sudden I'm much more excited for this kind of package. But in Wild, the place where I can kind of see it is like Hero Power Mage, right? Like, I thought about it a little bit in Secret, but it's just too many card slots. Like, it's just way too many card slots for Secret Mage, so it's not really viable. But Wildfire Mage, sure. There's sort of this weird thing where like Sif has absolutely no synergy with like the Wildfire support, and so it's really awkward kind of having to put in all these packages. I don't really like it with the quest line. It's probably just not very good. Like, let's be real, it's probably just not very good in Wild, but it might make for a pretty fun Standard deck at least.
You think it's not even good in something like the not specifically Quest Mage, but like Quest Line Mage, like just like an aggressive spell multicaster mage with like, you have this burn endgame, kind of like similar to Quest Shaman.
Quest Line Mage?
Yeah.
I have no faith in Quest Line Mage.
No,
like,
that's
0 chance.
Right. That's the problem. The problem with Quest Line Mage isn't the new cards, it's the Quest Line Mage part.
I don't know.
You don't have the necessary mana cheat to accelerate your quest, and you don't have any threats really, like some of the better quest lines, like Questline Demon Hunter, Druid, or we'll get to it, but Shaman has a lot more ability to kind of churn through, whereas Mage, because of the flow nerf, because of the Spring Water nerf, because of the Sork nerf, you're just paying actual mana cost for actual cards, and that's just not good enough in Wild Hearthstone.
Okay. Last final question. So outside of Hero Power Mage, do you think this is just like something that you can splash in like Ignite Mage or Arena Mage or things like that?
I think the closest one is the mech, just because it like the mech in Reno Mage is probably pretty close, just because it doesn't need a lot to be good, right? Like you have your first flames, you have your Ray of Frost, and bam, it's already good, right? Like that alone is very good, and it contributes again to the game plan of the deck, where it wants to be a control heavy deck. I don't think that you can squeeze in an elemental inspiration, a Sif. Even like Corb said, a Wisdom of Norganon is going to be a little bit too slow in that, and so it's probably not worth. Maybe you can make an argument for a Discovery of Magic, but the card pool in Wild is so broad that you're going to get a lot of blanks on those, right? Because imagine you get Fell, Holy, and Shadow, and you just whiff on all three, so you just stuck with a nonsense card.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, I just wanted to explore all options because they did devote a lot of cards, in this expansion to it, and I want to make sure that we're not glossing over anything. But I'm going to gloss over this last mage card here that kind of felt a little bit out of place, and that's Molten Marine, which is the 3-mana fire spell. 3 mana, deal 3, get a random spell, forge this cast twice.
Is that?
I mean, it's intended to probably be very good with Sif because,
right,
like it'll be like deal
8
damage, 8 damage twice or something. But yeah,
but not really a wild card because it says the word random on it, right? So
right, but because it does say the word random on it, you can get spells from other classes too, right? So this is meant to be like support for that same like Discovery of the Magic, but worse or less reliable.
Sure. I guess I probably should have lumped it in with those other cards. All right, my bad on that. Let's talk about Paladin. So I feel like it's important to mention that not only did Paladin get a whole new set of cards, it also got new core set cards that'll be releasing with the new set. So let's go ahead and talk about the core set cards first. They're getting introduced before we start talking about cards from the new expansion. Nothing is coming out of the core set or anything like that, but you will be getting these cards, I believe, for free, right? Because they'll be part of the core set. So and they're new cards, so we'll go ahead and lump them in here. So let's start with Resistance Aura first. This is a 2-mana holy spell. Your opponent's spells cost 1 more, last for 3 turns. So because it says last for 3 turns, is that 2 turns for the opponent or 3 turns for the opponent where this will trigger? I believe it's 3, right? Because that would make sense. But it's essentially Cult Neophyte effect for 3 turns for 1 spell.
Yeah.
You
seem very excited about this, guys.
I mean, when was the last time you got hit by a Cult Neophyte? And more importantly, when was the last time it mattered?
I don't know. It seems pretty good against like Questline Demon Hunters and things like that.
Yeah, Questline Druid as well. Like it certainly slows those types of decks down. But then, like, what are you doing as a Paladin in response? And doesn't the good mech Paladin deck right now just kind of beat those decks anyway?
Well, I'm not really thinking about it in terms of like mech Paladin, right? Because I don't think I want to play any.
No, definitely
auras,
not.
But because like you want to make sure you're hitting radar detector. But I mean, just in general, like if you're playing, like, does an aggro Paladin want something like this? Does like even something like a Reno Paladin want something like this, where it like stops the opponent from comboing maybe for 3 turns?
Yeah, this effect is very powerful potentially. Like obviously in certain matchups, you play this card and the game functionally ends. Like you play this and the Questline Demon Hunter, like trust me, I've been teched against enough to know just how damaging that can be. So the thing about Tax Paladin right now, or Aggro Paladin, is that its biggest problems are getting swept off the board by other decks that are much better in the early game. It struggles a lot against things like even Shaman, Pyro Rogue, the mech decks problems. And the slower stuff, not so much. But if Paladin happens to get really, really premium early game to kind of pair with Call to Arms, and all of a sudden you can play this Aura on turn 4, turn 5, whatever. It could be very oppressive, actually. Like, this is an important card for Wild's future, even if it's kind of bad right now. Because, aggro Paladin as a baseline is always going to get support in some capacity. It wouldn't shock me if they gave enough support where it became like one of the better decks. And then with this card, I mean, it's just going to be very dominating over the Solitaire style decks. So, yeah, I think it's an important one moving forward, even if it sees no play right now.
I'm a little bit less optimistic that, like, all Paladin, Call to Arms Paladin is missing is strong early game, because it's gotten that recently, right? It got some decent stuff in the past couple sets. It saw a brief resurgence and then kind of puttered out after a while, just because like it can't keep pace with some of those other board based decks like even Paladin or the mech deck. So unless it gets something a little bit more proactive than those other decks to get on board and get a footing in order to like survive long enough to make it to the Call to Arms, I don't necessarily see that happening. But like, yeah, there's certainly potential for this card to do something. I think just like most of the time, it makes your bad matchups a little bit better, and it makes your good matchups maybe worse sometimes, right? Like, no, that's backwards.
That's the other way around.
Yeah, it's backwards. It makes your good matchups better and your bad matchups worse, which is, I guess, not necessarily bad deck building. It's just going to further polarize the matchup spread, and right now the matchup spread is not in aggro Paladin's favor.
Yeah, I do wonder, like, I want to say mid-range Paladin. That doesn't really exist in Wild, but I'm talking about stuff like even Paladin, kind of like what Reno Paladin has been at times. Like, I think this is what I want tech to be. I feel like a lot more than something like Sticky Fingers or Lotheb. So like, I'm okay with the design of this card. I like this card. Again, I am with y'all's opinion of like, it might not be super great in the current meta, but it is a card that's going to be, like, when it's going to be good, it's going to be a really important, powerful piece. And so I'm glad that it got printed into the core set. And I guess just a little bit of a clarification question on auras, because I didn't watch the reveal part of this. Are you allowed to have multiple auras at the same time, or do they function like the objectives from Alterac Valley, where you can only have like one at a time? Because they both have this text of like last 3 turns.
Forgot. I read the answer like when they were initially released, and then I forgot.
I was extraordinarily sick and just completely missed this reveal. I will say, as somebody that played a Paladin in WoW, when you equip or when you set an aura, it overrides the previous aura. So, like, if that's what they're trying to replicate, then no. But
so you're probably
I don't
only
know
allowed to have one at a time.
But I don't know if that's what they're going for.
I mean, you can definitely only have one of each aura. Like, you can't have double of the 2 mana aura. I just don't know whether you can have the 2 and the 4 up at the same time, or whether they just like move along like quest slots. They probably move along like quest slots, and you can have like one of each. But you kind of, yeah.
From a gameplay perspective, it makes more sense that you can have 2 different auras equipped at the same time.
Yeah.
Even if that didn't happen in in the class in WoW.
I mean, we will we'll find out after we record this episode. I'll let you guys know down in the comments, or if you guys actually know the answer, let us know. But the whole reason I brought that up was because there's more auras. The other card that's introduced to the core set is Crusader Aura. This is a 4-mana holy spell aura. Whenever a friendly minion attacks, give it +2/+1. Lasts for 3 turns. That is a permanent +2/+1. That seems very much Arbor Up-esque, right? For your board-based Paladin decks. Permanent +2/+1 when you go to make your attacks for the turn. Seems actually really strong.
Yeah, it's a little bit better in some instances than like a Dunbalder Bridge, because it's not just 4-mana pass. You actually get to make use of it if you already have something on board. And then it plays nicely with like rush minions if you get a bunch of those off of Call to Arms, like with Liadrin. So still not super high on the card, but I think it's like maybe it's got some potential. It could like be I don't know, serve a similar role as Dunbalder Bridge in like an even Paladin or a Call to Arms Paladin. But the latter kind of got away from the bridge for a while.
I think this is broken. I think this is going to be kind of broken in Mech Paladin. I think it's going to be a big part of why Mech Paladin is going to open up as probably the best deck in Wild next expansion. So yeah, we'll see. I kind of want to see what the other classes. I'll think about that one. But whatever, Mech Paladin's gonna be broken anyway. Yeah, no, it's just huge. Like, you're cutting the slow bad magnetic cards like Ziliax and War Gear. And you've got all this tons of lethality for your wide bubble bot boards. This closes the game so much faster against things like Shutterwalk. It's even good, like, if your board gets devolved, against a Shutterwalk, then all of a sudden you throw this down, all of a sudden your board is back to being threatening again. So, yeah, I think it's huge. It's a Savage Roar that lasts for 3 turns with permanent stats.
So it's Arbor for 3 turns, yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, yeah. So
I
when you
think
put it that
is
way.
very good. Go ahead.
When you put it that way, that sounds like a strong card.
Yeah, it's everything that Dumbledore Bridge wanted to be, but better. So excited about this one. That being said, let's dive into the actual expansion cards revealed for Paladin here. So speaking of mechs, we got some mech support. Surprise, surprise. So we've already talked about Noble Minibot in the past, but we got 2 other mech pieces here. We have X21 Repair Bot. This is a 1-mana 1/3 mech. Death Rattle. Return any mechs magnetized to this to your hand. And then the other mech card here is another aura, and that is Inventor's Aura. 2-mana holy spell. Your mechs cost 1 less. Last 2 turns. So kind of a mech warper effect on a spell. Important to note, Inventor's Aura does muck with stuff like Vindicator and things like that. Whereas the 4-mana Aura doesn't, because it's 4 mana and not 3 or less. So I guess I'm not really so sure about Inventor's Aura. I know people are kind of hyped about that one. I'm really interested in y'all's take about that specifically.
I think it depends on how the builds look. But like if, like Corb said, it shifts to a very low curve, you're going to get a lot less value off of the Inventor's Aura. And especially if it's interrupting with your ability to not only draw cards off of Radar Detector, but like actually draw the Radar Detector off of Stonehearth Vindicator. You have to make a really compelling case to remove the fact that you're running 4 copies essentially of 2 mana or 3 mana draw 5. So it feels like it would be really hard to justify this card in that, even though it is mana cheat. It is mana cheat over multiple turns. But it doesn't matter how much mana you cheat if you like empty your hand and you don't have refill off of the Radar Detector.
yeah, I'm pretty sure this is unplayable in WoD.
Oh, but it has the mana cheat thing on it. No, how do you guys feel about Repair Bot? I know it's a 1-mana 1/3 mech. We have a lot of the 1-mana mechs at this point. And while Paladin specifically doesn't really do a whole lot of the magnetic thing because it wants to go super wide and play Bubble Bot and the new 4-mana Aura. And so I feel like you're not really getting any value out of Repair Bot except for the fact that it's a 1-mana 1/3.
Yeah. I mean, people are probably overrating the text on this a lot. It does work well with like Glowtron, the new neutral, Noble Minibot. So you do have like a handful of targets that are alright. Skaterbot sucks, but whatever. People will play Skaterbot. It's fine. Like, it'll probably just be played because it's a 1/3 mech that has slight higher upside than something like. It's probably like slightly better than something like Click Clocker, but they're going to be very comparable, I imagine. I mean, it is very good with the Noble Minibot curve. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I was about to say the Click Clocker or the Divine Shield with the 4-mana Aura though seems like not too shabby, but yeah, I don't know. It's a 1-mana mech. Doesn't seem super interesting, but I'll be interested to see, if you have enough magnetics to kind of warrant it. All right, the other theme that they pushed, we have this Earthen Paladin deck, like a little bit of Res Paladin, a little bit of a weird thing
Sleeper. Here. Resident Sleeper Paladin, meow.
All right, you said it, not me, but I'll read the cards
No,
out.
it's just like the Priest Automaton. How could you say that?
He learned his lesson from last time.
That one. Yeah.
All right, we have Stoneheart King. It's a 4-mana 3/2 Death Rattle. Summon a 2/2 Earthen that gains +2/+2 for each other Earthen you've summoned this game. So base level, it's a 4-mana 5/4, but it scales the more Earthens you play. And you have this other card called Disciple of Amethyst. 6-mana 4/6. At the end of your turn, summon a 2/2 Earthen that gains +2/+2 for each other Earthen you've summoned this game. And then you have Tears. 5-mana Holy Spell, resurrect 3 different Paladin minions, set their stats to 2/2, which works really, really nicely with your Earthen minions and the minions that summon Earthens. You can also forge Tears to resurrect 4 Paladin minions instead of 3. So between Tears, and these Earthens, you've got a little bit of control res Paladin going on. It's a little weird for me to say this about a Paladin deck, but I don't know. It's you got the cute thing, right? Tyr resurrects your Stoneheart King and your Disciple of Amethyst. Like, that's your 3 and your 4 drop.
Yeah, I mean, everything fits together nicely, but then you have to remember that you're dead by the time before you summon your first 2/2. Oh, you've already lost that game. Sorry.
I thought you were gonna hit me with that. It all dies to Flurgle Talks like you hit me with last week, and I was.
I mean, if you're lucky, it all dies to Flurgle Talks. So at least then you actually got to do the thing partially.
I don't even I don't even know where I want to talk about. It's like imagine every the quintessential board-based Paladin deck, and then we made it even more boring and even more slow. And that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like, this does not appeal to me in the slightest. It's so slow, and it's just stats, and it's so slow until you get more stats, and it's just, I don't care.
Yeah, I think conclusion here that these cards are slow is what I'm getting.
They're unbelievably slow. Like, it's crazy.
What if the Earthens had taunt? Like, how much better? I know better cards would be better, but like, how much better would they be if they had taunt?
Yeah, better cards are better.
Yeah, they would do something. Like,
it is just kind of crazy. Like, people are just going to ignore all of these things that you do, which is a little bit sad.
Yeah, I mean, the late game is going to be like dumb, but it's compared to like relics or something, right? Like if you similar scaling, relics scale like harder towards the end, and they're just much flashier and much more exciting. And this is just the Paladin version of that, which means that the Paladin version is just like play vanilla minion on curve and just like, yeah.
Worse than vanilla minions. You're playing a 4-mana 3/2. All right, we have 2 other control Paladin cards. You have Astral Serpent, which is a 4-mana 3/3 dragon. At the end of your turn, if this didn't attack, draw 2 cards. So a 4-mana 3/3 that you don't want to attack with. We'll leave that out in the air for you guys. But we also have Judge Unworthy, which is a 4-mana spell. Set an enemy minion's health to 1, then deal 1 damage to all enemies. So like, you get to kill 1 creature and then Arcane Explosion the rest of the board. I don't know if this is something that's like better than just like City Tax, but it is 4-mana kill a minion basically. Opinions about these 2 control Paladin cards?
Yeah, I mean, it's a quality City Tax in 1 card, right?
Well, it only kills 1 thing though, right? It doesn't kill the entire board.
Oh.
The rating challenge.
I read this twice, or I read this before you even read it, and then no, I just assumed it would be good, but I was very wrong. No, no, we have a quality City Tax, and that's no.
Yeah, not very good. What was the other card you talking about? Meowth Serpent? I can't even...
Yeah,
it's not.
That was the other control. It's a 4-mana 3/3 you don't want to do anything with. Like,
it's so bad. The draw card.
Yeah, so Paladin's going to be playing Mechs again.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's going to be Mechs. And there'll be like Odd Paladin, like a very small amount of Odd Paladin. But mostly Mechs. Mechs are going to be great.
Mechs.
Yeah.
Look, Mech's got new cards, so at least they can claim that they're doing it to
innovating.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Do you think you ever played Tears as like a 5-mana quasi Giggling Inventor / Call to Arms in like aggro Paladin?
So like follow up your Call to Arms with like summon 3 2/2s with the Divine Shield.
Yeah, it gets like a Righteous, a mini bot, another Righteous. Like that's like a Giggling Inventor of sorts.
We already have Rally and nobody plays that.
Yeah, but Rally's like probably
Rally only really gets you 2, right?
Set up. No, Rally gets you 3 cards, but you need a 2, 3, and 4 drop to die. And that's a lot harder than having any 3 Paladin minion die.
No, it's a 1 and 2 and a 3. Like, yeah, it is harder, but like...
Oh, 1, 2, 3, yeah.
Yeah. So, because the hard part is that you have to run a 3 drop in your deck, which you don't really want to do. Yeah. But I don't...
I'm reaching.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know that I would play this in my Call to Arms Paladin over the new Aura, right? Like, I'd rather go Call to Arms on 4 than Aura on 5. But
I don't think I would play this in current Call to Arms Paladin.
So what I'm hearing is Giggling Inventor to 5, or is Giggling Inventor? They kept that at 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they unnerfed it partially to 6,
right?
Because it went from 5 to 7.
Giggles to 5. Giggles to 5. If Tears isn't good enough, then Giggles to 5.
Right. No, I don't. Honestly, I think they could have done that, and it probably would have seen the same amount of play.
It would have saved us from Questline Druid.
No.
I actually saw a disturbing amount of Giggling Inventor from Shutterwalk Shamans.
People shove them in that ETC.
Yeah. Unironically.
It's a thing.
Yeah. All right. Paladin's boring. Let's talk about cool class. Let's talk about Shaman. Shaman got some broken stuff, I feel like, from a very quick glance that I did before the thing. So we've already talked about the Titan, and we've already talked about how the Titan seems kind of nutty. Let's talk about... we have Overload support to kind of go with the theme from last set. And then we also have, nature support? But they do kind of go hand in hand. And so I don't know if I just want to read all of these cards out and kind of go from there. I think I'm just going to lump them all together. You guys are going to bear with me because I'm going to talk for a couple minutes here, okay? You have Lightning Reflexes. This is a 1-mana nature spell. Discover a nature spell. If you play it this turn, discover another. You have Disciple of Golganeth. 2-mana, 2/3. At the end of your turn, reduce the cost of a random Overload card in your hand by 1. Flash of Lightning. This is a card. 2-mana nature spell. Draw a card. Next turn, your nature spells cost 1 less. Just no restriction. Your nature spells cost 1 less. You have Turn the Tide. Give your hero a 3-mana nature spell. Give your hero +3 attack this turn. Summon a 3/3 elemental with Rush. Overload 1. You have Champion of the Storms. 4-mana 3/5 elemental. After you cast a nature spell, summon a 4/2 elemental. If you forge Champion of the Storms, that 4/2 elemental you get has Rush. And then you have Crash of Thunder. 5-mana nature spell. Deal 3 damage to all enemies. Cost 1 less for each nature spell you've cast this turn. And to top it all off, we have our Shaman Legendary. Thorum Stormlord. 3-mana 3/4. Battle Cry. Unlock your overloaded mana crystals. Draw that many cards. All right.
So, when I saw a Flash of Lightning, the first thought I had was, well, I know what deck Corb's playing this expansion. That was all I could think about.
You're not wrong either. Yeah. Where do we want to dig into with this? Because there's a whole bunch of cool stuff to talk about.
Let's start with the Legendary, the flashy Legendary first, right? Like, Battlecry, unlock your overloaded mana crystals. We used to just play the quest in our deck for that first step because that first step was so powerful. And then you get to draw that many cards. We have stuff like Beakered Lightning, Zap, Lightning Bloom. Like, how busted of a draw engine is this for our questline decks?
Very good.
Pretty busted.
Yeah, it's very good. It's not like Frog level of draw necessarily, but
in combination with Frog,
But then you get the unlocked crystals, so very, 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 very strong. I don't know. I feel like where I want to start is just saying how goddamn cool this whole set is. Like, I love the cards they pushed. I love the flavor that Core outlined. Like, what hits people is the thunder, but first you see the lightning, and so there's like the flash of lightning, and then the lightning reflexes, and then bam, you get hit with the crash of thunder at the very end. Like, I think that's very, very fun. It's also synergistic, and I'm very excited about it. I really want to play this in Questline Shaman more than anything. I know a lot of the Shaman, Frog Shaman mains are like very anti-Questline, but I think that Questline got more specific support with the Legendary. I think some of the support pieces are a lot more suited to the Questline version of the deck, and the Questline version of this means that you have so much more game against like Questline Druid or Reno decks. You just have a much more dependable game plan. So I'm very excited to play Questline Shaman, especially after playing it in Twist and being reminded, wow, Questline Shaman is really, really fun and cool. So very, very pumped up for most of these.
You do trade off the whole, having a 3-mana glug with the ability to just like kill people on turn 5 or turn 6. I don't know if that's upside or downside, but you got that going. Let's pivot from that into talking about specifically Flash of Lightning alongside something like Lightning Reflexes and Crash of Thunder, because that feels like they all play really, really well together. So I think just to clarify how this is going to work with something like Spirit of the Frog, if you play Flash of Lightning, all your nature spells will cost 1 less. So all those 1-mana nature spells will cost 0, which will draw you 1-mana nature spells from your deck, which then costs 0, which then you can play for 0 mana and draw a 1-mana spell from your deck. That's going to... You see where we're going with this. So then your Lightning Reflexes becomes basically 0 mana, draw 2 or 3, because you get the nature spell kind of lumped in there. Crash of Thunder very easily becomes 0 mana. Your overdrafts are going to be 1 mana, deal a billion. Your Thorums are going to be 3 mana, draw a billion. It seems like this package all fits very, very nicely together. You just got to, draw the frog.
Just got to draw the frog and build your deck maybe a little bit differently than people are used to right now. Because I think you're probably right. You do want to like really dial in on those 1-mana spells, because it's going to be hard to find the crackles if you're just chaining a bunch of 1-mana spells. To clarify, I think Lightning Reflexes isn't like the legendary minion, right? Like it can only cast a second time, but like that's still
it's still 0 pretty mana good value to draw 2 and then also discover that spell. So it is 0 mana draw 3.
And
I will just say on Reflexes, I looked at the math just before we kind of move on from it. You do have like a better than 50-50 shot of getting offered like a 1-mana nature spell that's playable. I'm not counting cards like Evolve, because like if you pop off on your frog turn, you get offered Evolve. You probably don't want to play the Evolve on your frog. And some of the cards are a little bit situational. Like sometimes they'll be playable. Like I think Unstable Evolve can be played on like a Voltaic Burst. But about more than half the time, you're going to get like a 0 mana card basically, and you can keep the chain going for free.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's pretty good odds if you're considering wild and like the, if the game doesn't end, you're gonna have some decent picks for the following turn. And worst case scenario, like it casts twice, and like Crash of Thunder just gets double reduced plus the triple reduced because you played the first spell that you chose off of it in order to cast it again. So like that seems pretty silly. It's going to be a very Corb style deck where it's very active, draws a lot of cards, requires multi-turn setups, because something like a Flash of Lightning you're not just going to hit Flash of Lightning into Frog every game. You're going to have to actually think about it. And even like Thorum is probably good for in a lot of situations the turn before you go rather than the go turn itself, if you're relying especially on Overdraft as your damage source. So like, yeah, there's going to be some interesting play patterns and maybe like a learning curve associated with the deck, but I'm sure it'll be pretty cool.
And something I just want to point towards is the fact that Flash of Lightning is very telegraphed in a way that we probably have rarely seen in other combo decks before in Hearthstone. Next turn, your nature spells cost 1 less. So it kind of like gives people a big green light. Hey, play the Akani, play the Cult, play the Lothab, do something. Like you need to do something right now. And if you do, then the Shamans kind of had their hand tied behind their back, because that Flash of Lightning, that card was meant to cheat out like 12 mana and instead it cheats out 0. It's kind of also part of why I think the Questline version might be stronger, because if you build a non-Questline version, it seems possible that you're a lot weaker you don't have as much of a backup plan necessarily if the turns start getting disrupted very easily, whereas the Questline should be a little bit more resilient. But yeah, it's kind of nice that we have this kind of effect, because like I said, I don't think we've really had that kind of telegraphing before. And the telegraphing definitely puts a huge limit on just how powerful and oppressive this deck can be. It would have been nice if like Kael'thas Druid told you exactly what turn and what was in hand before you tried to like rat or things like that. It made it so difficult to disrupt the Druid back when they originally brought that back.
Yeah, just because something is capable of being powerful and having powerful turns doesn't necessarily mean the deck will have a, high success rate.
There was a little part of me that was like, damn, a little bit sad that Frog Shaman doesn't exist anymore since they nerfed Drekthar, but then they printed all of these cards, so I think we're good. I think I'm okay.
I feel like you're gonna hate it. Oh, are you not gonna hate this? Like, it's gonna be killing you on 4. Like,
yeah, probably. When I come back in a couple weeks and mauled and blame Corp for it, yeah. But I mean, I like the fact that it's telegraphed, right? Like when it's not like Ignite Mage-esque, like kill you on turn 5, and there's like nothing you could have really seen or done, right? Where like this way, I'll be like, well, I have Cold Neophytes in my deck. I have, what is it called? I have Resistance Aura in my Paladin deck. I just didn't draw it, right? And things like that. I feel like I'll have a little bit. I don't know. I'll probably still mauled and still be mad. I don't know. But I am glad that like Questline Shaman and Frog Shaman is back. I feel like you could probably just kill people with like Voltaic Surge, Bioluminescence, because I believe those are both nature spells without even needing to like Brucon. So you can do that whole thing.
Yeah, it'll be a deck that has kind of the questline should have 2 game plans. Like there will be games where you OTK on 4, like a lot. Like if you have the bio in hand and you're able to just go like Frog, Voltaic, bio, then that's +5 spell damage. Don't need many lightning bolts after that.
All right, so what I'm hearing is that everybody's put 2 Dirty Rats, 2 Cold Neophytes, 2 Resistant Auras, in all of their decks on Expansion Day, and then Q in the court.
By all means, Meowth, Dirty Rat away.
Rat your frog, and then make sure you have an answer to the frog. But
the stealth frog,
just devolving missiles. It's simple.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Duh.
All right.
Play Shadowwalk Shaman on day 1. That's what I'm advocating for, apparently. I do want to just shout out, like, I think Champion of Storms is a cool card. It just doesn't really fit with the whole game plan of the deck in Wild, but I do think the card's cool, and wanted to shout that out. We do have a couple of other Shaman cards that are probably going to see way less play than all these other things. You have Tempest Hammer, 4-mana, 1/3 weapon, but after your hero attacks, deal 3 damage to the lowest health enemy. Synergy with Storm Strike and Turn the Tides and things like that. Maybe. We're not going to talk about it anymore. And then you also have Thorgnir Drake, 7-mana, 6/6 dragon with rush. Whenever it attacks, summon 2 3/1 whelps to attack the target first. Don't even think that makes the cut in Big Shaman. I don't know if it's particularly close because you played General in that deck, and that just seems stronger. All right, so let's move into Warlock here. I think it's just getting more self-damage support and more discard support. That's kind of my take on that. We'll see how they fit. So let's start with the small discard package here. We have Disciple of Sargeras, 4-mana, 3/3, Battlecry. Discard a spell to summon 2 3/2 imps. If you forge the Disciple, it summons 2 3/4 imps with Taunt. So discard your Hand of Gul'dan, discard your what is the card? The 5-mana pew Soul Barrage. That's the one. While you make a board, seems not too bad. And then you have Wing Welding, which is a 4-mana spell that says discard your highest cost card. Deal damage equal to its cost to all minions. So it doesn't really fit in your traditional discard Warlock deck, but seems like it's, we hypothesized a long time ago about like control discard Warlock. And Wing Welding kind of seems to fit that, that archetype, even if it's not really a thing in Wild. So not a ton of discard support, but we do have discard decks in Wild and in the past. So how you guys feeling? The more I read Disciple of Sargeras, like it kind of seems not bad.
Does it?
I mean, five mana for what is that?
6.
9.
6 mana. 6 mana, Meowth.
You don't have to forge it.
Oh, okay.
Well, even if you don't forge it, isn't it just fine? Like 4 mana for 9/7 worth of stats that draws you 3 cards or deal 6. I know it's 4 mana in our discard Warlock deck, which is like traditionally not, it's a lot of mana, but seems powerful. You guys are seem very skeptical about this.
I'm thinking it out. I mean, the problem obviously being that it's not targeted as much. Well, it is targeted where spells you just have to make sure you don't have like Slayer or something in hand. But yeah, I mean, if you're playing, like, can you build discard Warlock with just Barrage in hand? is the only two. Like
you probably still play Solarium and then just like...
Yeah, you still play Solarium,
Yeah.
but is that just like, can you get away with just that 5? I guess like you wouldn't play Wicked Whispers. That'd be kind of bad. So, but at least like Wicked and Solarium are very cheap, so like you can dump them preemptively heading into turn 4. And in which case it's kind of fine. It's not great.
You'd play Fist as well. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd...
2, 3, 2s. I mean, it's better than... better than Matron?
I think it's a lot better than Matron. I mean, it's a lot less like targeted than Matron, but it's a lot more stats than Matron. So
I think calling it better than Matron is very fair, but is Matron good?
Right, that's a good question. Don't know.
That is also a very fair question. Yeah,
Matron not good. It's just the question of like how much better than Matron. I don't know.
Can I interest you guys in like, is there a fusion of Imp Warlock and Discard Warlock where you like get to take advantage of the whole Imps thing, right?
Yes, potentially. Because Malk Imp is an Imp, so that helps. But yeah, like I would already play a small discard package in Imp Warlock, like with Wicked Whispers and Malk Imp and Solarium. So you could probably do something similar if you ran like, I don't know, like Hand of Gul'dan. It's kind of a weird mix. It's hard to find all the slots for it, but there might be something you can do.
Just add a Renathal. Boom. And then discard it with your cards so you don't have to play a 3-minute... I'm going off the deep end a little bit here. No, I think Disciple is something worth looking at. I think Wing Welding... I don't know if you're interested in talking about controlled discard Warlock stuff, but...
Well, I'd be interested in this like Questline Warlock running Expired, Hand of Gul'dan, Wing Welding.
That's kind of what I was thinking as well. That's the only, but I still think that that's probably just too slow for the format in its current state, especially with the changes to the quest line.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, 4 mana, 4 mana is 6 AoE. It's a lot of AoE.
It's a lot of AoE, but you also have Hellfire, and you cut Defile from your questline Warlock, so like...
I did do that, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, speaking of questline Warlock, let's talk about some of the self-damage support, I think. You got Mortal Eradication. This is a 3-mana shadow spell. Deal 5 damage, randomly split among all enemy minions, restore 2 health to your hero, so a little bit of healing to go along with your removal. And then, more importantly, I think the card that people are really interested in is Imprisoned Horror, which is a 9-mana 5/5 that costs 1 less for each damage you've taken on your turn this game. So very easily, I feel like 0-mana 5/5s. 0-mana 5/5s I think are good. Not really certain, hard to tell. But I think that 0-mana 5/5s might have the potential to be playable.
We don't necessarily have anything like historical precedent to support this, but it does seem like one would assume that's the case. Yeah.
All right, Corb, okay. You're a questline Warlock expert. Your final opinion. We've never seen an effect like this before, ever. Do you think it'd fit?
It could fit. We could play the 0-mana 5/5. I don't know. It's weird. I'm only used to thinking about giants in this format. I've never seen this 5/5 type body before. I don't know. It's broken. It's broken. I don't know if the deck's broken. I don't think the deck. I don't know if it's enough of a leg up for the questline Warlock deck, or even like you play it in Imp Warlock probably as well. Just any Warlock. I don't know, any Dark Lair without the questline. Probably questline's probably the best fit, the most powerful. But I don't know if it's good enough still. The deck, they really nerfed it hard.
Yeah, that's
like they killed the questline when they got the chance.
They really did. And it's not even just that they nerfed it so hard. It's that the metagame is just so unkind to it right now too. Like it just does not have the luxury of turns to set up and deal damage to itself. So what this probably does, if people run it, is further exacerbate the high roll potential of Crystallizer, which is already kind of carrying in the deck in the games where it does win. So I don't
Yeah.
like it either way.
Yeah, I mean, like Crystallizer, Spirit Bomb, Horus
Right.
cost 0. Like it's very, very, very easy to get this down absurdly cheap. Like by turn 3, if you're playing Questline deck, by turn 3 this should cost 0, which is just it's crazy. Like
You just like turn 2 it, right? Cobalt Librarian, Coin Crystallizer into tap on turn 2, and then bam, play a 0 and a 5/5.
all right, nice quest that you played.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine.
Oh,
Who needs it? I forgot about the whole quest thing, but ignore that. All right, we have 4 other kind of weird standalone cards that don't really fit either of these 2 packages, so we're going to kind of talk about them individually. Let's start with the Warlock Legendary. Always hype for legendaries until you actually read this one, which is a little bit weird. 6 mana 3/3 Battlecry. Discover a minion from your deck, summon a tentacle with its stats, and taunt. We don't play big demons anymore. Is this just like, do we play this in even lock and just 6 mana 3/3 draw a giant, summon a giant? Like that seems like highest, best case scenario. But then you think you only play 5 giants.
You're missing it. It hits your
The
dankness and
dankness?
it hits your dankness and Phantom.
yeah.
Simple.
That's where my mind went instantly.
Then you play a Forge of Wills on it, and you've got bam 2 dankness. Play a second Forge of Wills, bam 3 dankness.
I think the third one
And-
finally gets there,
and
and I'm interested.
More importantly, in a competition of who's danker, you're winning. But you aren't winning any Hearthstone games.
And even if you draw the dankness, you just plot twist it away, Roffle. Back into the deck.
Plot Twist is my chat's favorite card.
Forge of Wills. Hang on, this is kind of a very funny meme. I want to see Roffle play 3 2020s on turn 6. I don't know. This is kind of very, very fun. Like,
I'm going to try.
yeah, no, like I wouldn't be shocked if this is better than you'd think.
Yeah.
2020s are big.
But that's like,
Like-
that's you're talking about 2 legendaries, and you have to draw one before drawing the other.
Well, that's
Yeah,
right. You
your-
have
your
Phantom
Warlock-
as backup.
Yeah, and you're Warlock and you have plot twist, and it's fine. Don't worry
but
about
then
it.
you're running Plot Twist.
You know, the real plot twist is Corp defending this card and talking about
The real
dankness
Plot
and-
Twist is Corb defending Plot Twist and advocating for it in a deck.
Don't worry about it. Yeah,
Corp's
real
changed, man. First Automaton Priest, and now this. What's happened to you, bud?
It has taunt.
If 2020 taunts and rushes doesn't excite you, you are dead inside, Meow.
Something Flurgle talks, bro. I'll be Roffle from last week. Something dies to Flurgle talks. Okay. I'm actually interested in like whether it's good enough for even lock. I'm not interested by 2020s. That's all I'm gonna say.
Is Abyssal Summoner good enough for even look?
No. But Abyssal
interesting.
Summoner doesn't draw you a giant.
Okay. But what if this doesn't hit a giant?
That's the big issue, right? You play 4 giants and a what is it, Netheron? And that's it. Yeah. I'm not super high on Loken. Also because jailed Yogg, and how dare he. All right, we've got 2 spells to talk about. I guess we'll kind of talk about them in combination with each other because I feel like they probably are going to go in a similar style, aggressive token based deck / imp deck.
Ooh,
so we
Egg
have-
Warlock. Egg Warlock.
Oh, come on,
It's
spoilers. Maybe actually
sorry.
that. We have Chaotic Consumption, 1 mana spell, destroy a friendly minion to destroy an enemy minion, and then Monstrous Form, 1 mana shadow spell, give a friendly minion +3/+3 until your next turn. So very power overwhelming-esque, but it doesn't die. But you keep the 3/3 onto your opponent's turn. Yeah, I mean your Wicked Whispers, your Keat Lock, your Egg Lock, like all the stuff that cares about tokens in Warlock, I think likes both of these spells.
I think that was the first time I understood Monstrous Form. Thank you so much for that.
I've been passing the reading comprehension check. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, like eggs and tokens and Tamsin sometimes, and all of a sudden you Tamsin PO and Monstrous Form, and yeah, I don't know. Probably worse Plague of Flames. Like it is targeted, but
like you don't want to play Plague of Flames in your like aggressive cute lock deck, right? Where it's like you might want to play this.
maybe it's actually better than Plague of Flames in like an egg deck.
Because you don't want to get rid
In
of all
like
your
a
trap, right?
yeah, in like a cute in a like imp lock. Yeah, it depends. Like in an imp lock and an egg lock, it's better. In like a more traditional defensive deck, like Rod Warlock or quest line with lots of removal, it's Plague is much better. But I don't know. It's not a bad card. Monstrous Form. I mean, Monstrous Form again better in imps than eggs. Eggs you'd rather they die off probably with the PO. So this is a bit weird. I don't know.
You're probably playing both. Like if you like are playing eggs, though, right? You're probably playing both PO and this.
I'm gonna be real. I'm thinking about Egg Warlock. I'm not very high on these cards.
Right. I was with there the moment Egg Warlock was mentioned. I thought add it to the list. Like throw it under LPG and hand buff Paladin.
No, Corb got obsessed with the egg lock. I'm thinking just like cute lock because that used to be a thing like a couple expansions ago, right? And these seem like super strong in cute lock.
Are they super strong in Cute Lock?
Wouldn't Cute Lock just maybe
Well,
you consider run a PO? Like
yeah,
I mean, more
like
damage, more
wide
better,
buff.
right?
but it already isn't running PO is the thing. It uses the like Grim Rally Wicked Whispers. I think it already
And I
has
feel like
horde buffs.
I feel like Cute Lock is already like so desperate for resources. Like it needs actual
Right.
minions and buffs and draw, and that's like the whole thing. And so it's
Right.
kind of like if you throw in situational garbage that isn't actually.
Whoa! You can't go calling them garbage.
You just
Well,
did.
situationally, it's garbage. Sometimes it's really good, but situationally.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Roffle hit me with it. He already did, so I think it's time to move on. Last but not least, Thorn Veil Tentacle. 2 mana 2/2 with Lifesteal, Battlecry, deal 2 damage to a random enemy minion. You guys get to move on to Warrior.
Yeah. Once again, it kind of feels like Warlock didn't get much of a set.
I think Imprisoned Horror is good. I'm excited about Sargeras, but yeah. I will say I'm high on Chaotic Consumption. I think the card's good. Even if
Dark
like
Ladder 2. Dark Ladder 2.
I think if Chaotic Consumption is the best card that you get from
Oh.
a set, that's a pretty sad set.
I mean, I think Imprisoned Horror is busted. Right? It doesn't make Questline Warlock good, but the card itself is busted. So that's like two good cards. Maybe.
Dark Ladder 2?
All right. Dark Glare Warlock has been mentioned, so let's move on to Warrior. When do we get to add Dark Glare Warlock to the LPG hand buff Paladins here?
It's already there.
Somebody needs to tell Cord that news then. All right, so for Warrior, we've already talked about the Titan. Let's talk about the other legendary card here to kind of start off our conversation. Because I've seen a lot of hype about this one. Maybe rightfully so or wrongfully so? I don't know. You guys tell me. Yeah, you have Odin, Prime Designate. 8 mana, 8/8. Battlecry. For the rest of the game, after your hero gains armor, they gain that much attack for that turn. So finally, Control Warrior has a win condition. You press that button and you hit your opponent for 2 damage a turn. But you also have all the like 1 mana gain 5s and the 2 mana gain 10s that synergize with like Shield Shatter and now Odin. So like actual factual win condition for Control Warrior.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of what it was missing. It's just in our format that feels like a pretty slow developing. Like if you're waiting until turn 8 to get to your win condition, and then it's not itself winning the game, and you need more turns to get beyond that. I'm not super confident in that, especially with like the prevalence of Dirty Rats and Mutanus in our format. So like the deck simply does not beat something like a Shadowwalk Shaman, right? Probably has a hard time against Even Shaman, even as a control deck, because control decks actually have a hard time against Even Shaman. So what is it beating?
Yeah, this card's sick. It's basically like a quest reward, which I love. Like it's so awesome. Definitely would have preferred maybe to see this than what's her name? Rakara, the pirate one. Yeah, something like this would have been maybe a more fun direction. Although you might have had to change the text or effects. I don't know. It's very powerful if it was coming down for 5 mana 7/7. Anyway, my point is this is really, really cool. That's what I was trying to say. This card is sick. Unfortunately, you don't always get to play the sick cards in Wild, and this is one of those times because, like Roffle said, Dirty Rat Mutinous exist, and 8 mana, not 5. Big difference between a quest line reward. And so yeah, it's kind of the sad. Doesn't really have the shell. Like if you're playing something like Reno Priest, you can kind of get away with like the idea of having Anduin or whatever is your win condition because Priest has a much stronger baseline, much stronger card pool to work from with the hero power and Cathedral and just stronger removal than Warrior does. So while this is very exciting and a very, very cool card, the Warrior problems that we have talked about for the past 3 decades continue to persist.
Yeah. Strong cards do not remove all the problems from the last 3 decades. Priests do not have those problems to combat with that. I agree with you guys. I think the card is sweet. I'm in the boat of I love control decks having win conditions. So therefore, like I'm happy that Control Warrior finally has a win condition. Now Control Warrior just needs the other 29 cards to go with it. Is kind of the issue, right? Or I guess 27. You have Risky Skippers and you have Odin now, and you got to figure out the rest of the deck. Speaking of, let's talk about some of the other armor synergy cards that you might be putting into your deck. Transition like a pro here. So let's talk about Furious Furnace. That is not even the right card. All right, so let's talk about Smelt. Ooh,
what a professional!
Shut up.
The transition was good though.
I'm cutting all of this anyways. All right, I'm not leaving it in. Totally not. All right, you have Smelt, 2 mana fire spell. Give a random minion in your hand +3/+3, and then you can lose 3 armor to do it again. It's a fire spell. Synergizes with the whole gaining armor thing. You have Stone Skin Armor, 3 mana 3/4 Battle Cry. If your armor changed this turn, draw 2 cards. So that could mean you losing armor or gaining armor, right? So if you have a 2 mana weapon, you swing, lose armor, and then play this, draw 2 cards. You have Craftsman's Hammer, 4 mana 3/3 weapon. After your hero attacks and kills a minion, gain 4 armor. So you must really, really want that armor to play it over something like the Outrider's Axe, but that's besides the point. And then you have Minotaurin, 6 mana 5/5 with Rush. Whenever this minion deals damage, gain that much armor. Also important to note that we've gotten a bunch of cards over the past like year and a half in Standard that are kind of unplayable in Wild before this, but you have like the 4 mana 3/5 Dragon that like dredges and then gains armor. You have like the other dragon that deals damage equal to the amount of armor you have. You've got a bunch of cards that kind of synergize with the whole armor gaining thing, finally, because that feels like something that Warrior should be doing and not Druid. Do any of these cards change your mind about the playability of Odin in Wild?
Not in Wild, but they kind of give me hope that it might be a thing in Standard. So, like, at least somebody will be playing Control Warrior come the expansion.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are going to be probably quite good in that deck. I like the Hammer a lot. I like the 6-drop a lot as well.
The
for a different deck.
Yeah. All right. A couple other cards here. Circle back around finally to Furious Furnace. This is a 2 mana 1/3 mech with Magnetic. Also damages minions next to whomever this attacks. Are we playing mechs in something like Menagerie Warrior or things like that where a 2 mana cleave effect on Magnetic is worth it? Dude, I got halfway through before Core started shaking his head. So, yeah, I'm sorry. The other little package here is some more fire support for Warrior, fire spell specifically. So we have Steam Guardian, 3 mana 3/3 elemental, Battle Cry, draw a spell. Reduce the cost of a fire spell in your hand by 1. That does not have to be the spell that you drew. 3 mana 3/3, draw a card with a little tiny little bit of mana discounting. I think more importantly, it just draws you your Black Rock and Roll, which is like your win condition for a billion decks. So you got that going. Yeah. I'm going to talk about the other 2 fire cards and we can circle around back to this because I feel like they're going to be a lot less interesting. Bellowing Flames is a 3 mana, deal 5. And then if you forged it, deal 5, split among all enemy minions. And then you have Trial by Fire, which I think is like Scale of Onyxia-esque. I might be wrong in evaluating that. You don't have Gloop in Warrior, but Trial by Fire. Summon 5, 7 mana for a fire spell. Summon 5 1/1 Valkyries with Rush. When one dies, give the others +1/+1. So basically you're summoning a a 1/1, a 2/2, a 3/3, a 4/4, and a 5/5 with Rush, which seem pretty good. That was kind of the equation to scale. All right, back to Steam Guardian. 3-mana 3/3 Spell Tutor. Seems good.
Yeah, it's especially because it like not only draws you your black rock and roll, but makes it playable like on curve, turn 4, like a turn ahead. That's a pretty big deal as well. You want to run a lot of minions in that deck anyway, so you're just like running that and 29 minions, and seems pretty good. Probably not a wild playable deck, but it's a standard deck.
I think this could be decent in wild. I think it might be so good that it could get Blackrock nerfed in standard. We'll have to see on that.
I can see that very well.
I think this could actually be quite solid in wild. That is my spicy take.
I can't tell if Corp's been cooking or Corp's been coping. Which one is it? Cooking or coping?
I think I've been cooking. Warrior does have the problems with its early game plays in such a deck, like turn 1 and 2 look a little dicey, but once you play the Blackrock, which you are going to play every game because you are going to hard mulligan for that Steam Guardian and the Blackrock, and you will have it, because guys, you're 3 copies of a card. If you hard mulligan for them, you're going to find them like basically every game on curve. There's a lot of insane swings that happen after that, whether it is like the Minotauran, Ziliax, Ali, Armor Smith. That's a card some of you guys don't know.
5-mana 2/7 taunt. Whenever it deals damage, gain that much armor or something like that, right?
Yeah, whenever it deals damage, gain that much armor. So imagine a 7/12 version of that. It's gonna be very hard for. Well, I mean,
I have to pull. I have to pull the Roffle roll. Okay, somebody has to.
Yeah. But yeah, not super fun for like mech decks or pirate decks or totem decks to necessarily try and punch through that. So I don't know. You have like multiple effects that are sort of Reno-esque. So I'm hopeful by the Blackrock of Warrior, but we'll see.
Yeah, I do think that like it has the potential to look similar to like a 5-mana LPG type thing, right? Like,
yeah,
and it's happening earlier. There, yeah, I've played similar decks, not only recently, but like you get any amount of cost reduction associated with it, and you just start cooking.
All right, check out the episode in 2 weeks to find out if Corp was indeed cooking or Corp was cooking. Have you actually like theory crafted a list on what this might look like?
I have theory crafted stuff. Again, I am concerned about the early game and the fact that people do die on turn 4 in this format. But I don't know. It's hard to say, like, because if you just top deck the 5-drop, like, just be good. Just top deck the 5-drop, and then it's fine. Like, it's all good. But how often that happens, we'll have to wait and see.
Just always top deck the Samuro the turn after you block rock and roll so that you recover, right?
Exactly. Yep. That or Ziliax or something. It'll be great.
Yeah, just that simple. All right, so that is every card from Titans. We'll save our like predictions and decks that we're excited for our final episode next week. I mean, just to wrap it up, we've now seen all the cards. How are we feeling about kind of all of the stuff that we've seen so far? Kind of mechanics, cards, themes, all that stuff.
I'm excited to give it a whirl. Like, I don't know what it was, but last expansion I was maybe a little bit less hyped going into the expansion than I normally am. This time, kind of, slingshot back into about mean excitement. I know a lot of people are really into the Titans, like, thematically. I just think they look like cool cards, and I'm excited to play with the big, greedy, beefy boys and gals. So that's where my head's at least.
I mean, it's all over the place for me a little bit. Like, depends on whether we're talking about standard stuff or wild stuff, and it depends a lot on which classes we're talking about, because I feel like this set, depending on what exact perspective you're thinking about, it's either horrible or, maybe not horrible, but, not the most exciting. Or there's some stuff that looks very, very, fun and tempting and like tantalizing. So, like, am I excited for any of the Paladin stuff? No. Like, am I excited for any of the mage stuff in Wild? No. I think the mage stuff could be cool in Standard. So, I don't know. Overall, I would say probably one of the least exciting sets that I've seen. All things considered. Like, I don't like this set very much. We'll have to wait and see how much that actually plays out, because I'm just guessing and speculating before actually trying any of the cards. But yeah, right now, pretty low on it compared to normal. Just doesn't really speak to me, especially when thinking about Wild and sort of projecting what I think the meta game will look like. I think it'll continue going down a path that I am not excited for until we get to Wild 2.0 at some point in this expansion.
Oh, that is right. That is coming out sometime this expansion cycle, theoretically, right? Or the announcement of the announcement, maybe. Because whatever the map. No, I can understand the hesitation, right? When you saw mechs and totems like you talked about last week, can understand the hesitation. I think I'm excited though. I think specifically, if you just like still only showed me the 10 or 11 Titans that they showed us like 3 weeks ago, I think I would still like be just as excited, because those are the things that I'm excited to play with. And I think there's a lot of sweet stuff. I will also probably be doing the dabbling in Standard thing. So I'm gonna be net decking Corb, but I don't know. I'm a soft spot for Multicaster Mage. I'm sad when it didn't work in Shaman, so we'll try it out in Mage. But yeah, everybody that's listening, let us know down in the comments what cards you guys are excited for, what themes, what decks, everything like that. And make sure you guys tune in next week so that we can review our predictions from Festival of Legends. We can laugh about how wrong we were, and then be very confident when we make new suggestions about and new predictions about the strength of cards in Titans. So I'm looking forward to that. There's also theory crafting going on this week. And then we'll be talking about decks and things like that we're excited to try out in the new expansion. AKA Corb's going to talk for like 20 minutes about Questline Shaman, and you guys can grab the list that he's already going to prep the perfect 34 and play that on day one. Anything else you guys want to say before we kind of to close things out here?
I think that covers it. Looking forward to the new cards and Corb's spicy lists.
Dark Letter 2 mana.
Why did I give you the opportunity to do this? Well, it's my own fault, huh? No. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for joining me week after week. Thanks to everybody that listens. Let the people know where they can find you guys and your content.
Yeah, you can find me streaming on Twitch and YouTube with daily highlights over on YouTube.
And you can find me on Twitch at Corbett or Corbettgames on X or on YouTube.
Oh gosh!
Ew! That didn't feel good to say.
It's too late, dude. It's already out there now. Oh gosh! I'm gonna follow up with you can find me at Get Me Out on all of those platforms that I don't have to name specifically. Thanks again for listening all the way to the end, and we'll see you guys again next time. Later.